There's a new book that's worth checking out if you're a fan of true crime. Journalist Maria DiLorenzo spent hundreds of hours on the phone with the Green River Killer, and she documented it all in this book. It reveals all kinds of new details about his life, crimes, and motives. And Maria is here to share more. Hello, hello.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much for being here. Confessions of the Green River Killer. How did you first get in contact with Gary Ridgway?
Well, at the time, I had started a website called Beyond the Crime, and that was after I had been writing for a smaller publication called The Crime Report, where I covered stories pertaining to criminal justice reform and prison reform. And so I started the website kind of with the intention of wanting to learn more about the criminal minds and their behavior, and just to kind of give an uncensored platform for them to share whatever stories they want to tell. So I started this website. I sent out a bunch of letters. He was at the top of my list just because his case always fascinated me, especially the fact that there are so many more victims that could be unaccounted for. So I sent him a letter, not really expecting him to respond, but sure enough, he did. Within, I would say, about a month, he responded with a phone call, which I was not expecting.
Yeah, how did you continue and build this rapport with him over the years?
Yeah, so that took time. That was not an overnight process. It certainly took a lot of time to build a rapport with him. And at first he started calling me, I would say it was a few times a month, and then it became once a week, and then I was talking to him every day at one point. He was calling me every day, and then we were exchanging a lot of letters. And it took a lot of time to build that rapport, and it really came down to like being open to discuss like normal, like everyday activities. Like he would call me and ask me, oh, like what did you eat for dinner and how's your day go? Like very like, and then and kind of ease into whatever he wanted to then tell me about his, his crimes or whatever it was.
Yeah. And how long did this process take from start to finish before this book is out in your first book? Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. So it started, I sent the first letter in August of 2020, and it took 6 years in total between interviewing him, doing research, writing, just the whole process. It took 6 years.
Wow. And how did the communication with him really impact your own personal life, would you say?
It definitely took a toll on me psychologically. Just every day speaking to someone like that, it's certainly taxing and exhausting. And just, some of the topics he would choose to discuss with me, it's just disturbing in a lot of ways. Yeah, really dark, really disturbing. So it did take a toll on me. Just I was having nightmares at some points, definitely having trouble sleeping at some points. So yeah.
What made you want to continue then? Because I mean, nightmares, all of it, what it's doing to your body, you might at some point kind of think, is this even worth it?
Yeah, I mean, it was always my goal to try to uncover as much information as possible about any unknown victims. And that was, when he had first contacted me, that is what he claimed he wanted my help with, was to help him remember and help solve these additional cases. Because originally he was convicted for the 49. He told police about 71, and then when I spoke with him, he had told me 81 to 92 that he thought I don't know if he even knows for certain, but so I began this process of researching cases, and so that was always my goal, was try to lean into the manipulation in the hopes that he might tell me something significant that could be helpful.
What is something, I'm sure there's many examples, but something that he told you that really shocked you?
Yeah, I mean, he told me a lot of things that were shocking, I would say, but one thing in particular, he did tell me that he had buried a box of evidence somewhere here in King County in a park. And in this box, he told me it contained pictures of some victims, some that could be unidentified. He had told me he included spiral notebooks in there where he wrote down some conversations and details of the particular murders that he committed, in motel keys, a hat, a key emblem. So it was a bunch of stuff like that he had taken, I guess, from victims and things pertaining to victims.
Do you feel like at one point he kind of was taking over your life a little bit, like always calling, and were you feeling like you needed to answer the phone because he might give you some nugget of information? How was that process?
Yeah, I mean, it became like, it was a job, really. It was consuming. It kind of took over my whole world in a sense. But again, I mean, I was determined to try to keep him talking for as long as possible. It's just to see if he would divulge anything important. And with him, it's 50-50. You never know if he's telling the truth. He's a pathological liar who sometimes tells the truth. So that's what kept me answering the phone every day.
It makes sense.
Because you never know.
What's the takeaway that you hope when people, read this book, walk away with?
Yeah, I mean, I think in one way it serves as a cautionary tale, I think, for all women to really be mindful of this personality type. Not to say that, we're meeting people as terrible on a daily basis, but, when you think of people who are psychopaths or narcissists. It's all on a spectrum. So I think this book does a really good job at profiling him. So you're able to see some warning signs and things that might be helpful in that sense. But also I think it raises awareness for victims that are still unaccounted for today, that I'm hoping it might bring enough attention to these cases that maybe they could be reinvestigated.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you for having me.